Good morning, Morai Rabotai. We are continuing on Masechet Makkot, and we are on top of Hey, Amud Bet, 5 lines down from the top of the Amud. Today's Amud is being learned. L'schud refuah shelema, Rachel Simcha bat Nahid, Yael bat Loren, Esther Shoshana, and for Hatzala of Arvin, Netanel ben Sonia. That should hear good news, Bezrat Hashem. Amen. So we started the very last piece of our previous Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Istetid Huzo. That means if we have a kat of edim, a group of witnesses that come and start being mezim all the edim, right? The first group comes and says Reuben killed Shimon. Second group is the one that we're talking about. They say, no, you were with us. And then there's a third group. The second group says, you also were with us. You also were, everyone was with them. And Rabbi Yehuda says, come on. At some point, we realize that these guys are fabricated. Whoever comes, you were with us too. At some point, we realize that they're lying, so therefore, they're not ne'emanim. They're not trustworthy. And Rabbanan say, no. The law would basically hold that if they actually say you were with us and they have proof, there could be mezim each and every single one of the groups of edim, and that's fine. That was the machloket Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim in the Gemara, in the Mishnah. So now the Gemara says there was this woman, Ha'itita, Da'atai Sadi Lishtakur. She brought a group of edim, and we started doing the Rishava Chakira. They used to ask, like the Gemara explains in Sanhedrin, they had internal questions that they asked. They checked and they contrasted every single thing. They had to know what day of the week, what hour of the day, what week of the year, what year of the Shemitah. They had to ask a lot of questions to see if they actually match up. And these edim that this woman brought, in the process of the Risha v'Chakira, they basically failed. It was clear that they were lying. V'ishtakur. So she brings a second set of edim. We do the Risha v'Chakira, they also fall through. Right? And she brings now a third group of edim. Aiti sadi v'ishtakur, twice she failed. She goes and she brings another group of edim and says the Gemara, they passed all the tests. We did Risha v'Chakira and they actually passed everything. Became machloket amoraim. Over here, Resh Lakish says, Huchzekazu. Says we don't accept even the third kat of edim, even though that they passed the test. We don't believe them because she's a liar. And chazakah is that she went and paid somebody to come and lie for. She's just she went from like a $100 category. Now she went to $1,000 category. She found good edim that could lie through their teeth and not be caught. So we don't trust her and the edim that she brings. So says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Azar, his friend and colleague, we mentioned Rabbi Yochanan, two of his top Talmid Chaver was Resh Lakish, of course, and Rabbi Azar. So Rabbi Azar tells Resh Lakish, says, no, she may be a liar. But these two people are from a Yidden. They come to Amud Yomi every day. Well, they're from, they have Cheskat Kashrut of their own. She may have lost her Chazakah, but these two people didn't lose their hazakah, so therefore, said Rabbi Azar, we accept them. So the machloket Resh Lakish and Rabbi Azar. Now, what happened was, Zimnin, Hayat v'kamed Rabbi Yochanan. There's another time, they're sitting in the Beit Din, Rabbi Yochanan is also there. The Rebbe is there, Rabbi Azar is there, Resh Lakish is there. And a scenario like this came to their attention. Someone comes and says, well, this is the scenario. She brought one group of edim, a second group of edim, they're all found to be liars, and now a third group that's good, do we accept it? So Resh Lakish, of course, jumps and says, no, Huchzekazu. She has a chazakah being a shakran, and therefore we don't accept it. But this time, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan himself turns to Resh Lakish, says, well, im huchzeka zu kol Yisrael mi huchzeku. Exact words of Rabbi Elazar, now was said from Rabbi Yochanan himself, the Rebbe. Now, it was clear to Resh Lakish that Rabbi Elazar, that last time disagreed with him. Where did he get it from? From Rabbi Yochanan, and he just didn't tell him. He said it as if it's his shita, it's his argument. But he really had heard it from Rabbi Yochanan. This is not the first time. The Gemara says that Rabbi Yochanan actually at some point was very unhappy because he realized that Rabbi Elazar was saying things that he learned from him, adapting it as his own. And he was very unhappy. Rabbi Yochanan being unhappy with you never ended in anything but death. Resh Lakish died because Rabbi Yochanan got upset with him. Rav Kana died. Right, this is the Gemara in Baba Tzia Daf Pedalet, the Gemara in Baba Kama Daf Kuf Zayin. Right, that Rav Kana died because Rabbi Yochanan got upset. So he was very unhappy, and people started coming and saying, until one of the Talmidim said, no, you have to understand something. Everybody knows that Rabbi Elazar is your Talmud. Whatever he says is from you. Where else he got it from? He's your Talmud. Whatever he says is from you. And Rabbi Yochanan, was calm after hearing that. But be as it may, Resh Lakish gives a dirty look to Rabbi Elazar over here. Take a look at the Gemara. Hadar chasi Rabbi Elazar bishud. When Resh Lakish realized that this whole argument really was not Rabbi Elazar's argument, it was Rabbi Yochanan's argument, he looks at him with like an angry face. Shamat miri mi bar nafcha v'lo amradli. You heard these words, this argument from bar nafcha, from Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan was called bar nafcha. Rashi explains because his father was a craftsman, was a smithman, blacksmith. But there are others who say bar nafcha means, when you're a blacksmith, you're always dirty and dark and black, faced with all the things that are being next to the fire, and working with this it's not a good look. And it's like a lashon saginahor, because Rabbi Yochanan, as the Gemara says in Masechet Makkot, he was one of the most handsome, gorgeous individuals that has ever been created in the world, the Gemara says. And therefore it's like a bar nafcha, like you say the hafuch for Ein Hara, whatever, you call him bar nafcha. It was the good-looking one. So be as it may, he says, you heard this from Rabbi Yochanan, and velo amrati, and he didn't tell me. Mishemeh, in his name, you just said it as if it's your argument. So the Gemara says, well, this is very striking, because the machloket Resh Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan seems to be identical with the machloket of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. Because just like by Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan, Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says, well, at some point we bend the rules. The rules are two edim are believed, and if they are edim mezimim, if they are making the other ones zomem, the law should say check. They could be mezim everyone. But at some point, says Rabbi Yehuda, like we raise our eyebrows and we say, well, it can't be. Can't be that every single person that comes to testify was with them in Spain. Can't be. So at some point we say, look, we can't do this. And Resh Lakish seems to say the same thing. It says at some point, after twice that she brings the edim, and we find them to be liars, we say, you know what, we don't trust any edim there. The edim are kasher, we don't trust it. So it seems to be mamash the same. And Rabbanan and Rabbi Yochanan are the same. Then they say, no, we go with, you bring from good edim, we accept them. Every day of the day, every day of the week. So says the Gemara, Lema Resh Lakish, let's suggest, says the Gemara, that Resh Lakish Damar Rabbi Yehuda. Resh Lakish is like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan Damar Rabbanan. And Rabbi Yochanan is saying like Rabbanan. Amar Lecha Resh Lakish. Says the Gemara, no. Resh Lakish says, I am not confined with the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. I am saying even like Rabbanan. What do you mean you're putting me in a box with Rabbi Yehuda? Anade Amri Lecha Afilu Rabbanan. I'm saying even according to Rabbanan. Why? Ad kan lo kamri Rabbanan hatam. Because even Rabbanan, who are mekel, who are lenient, in the case of the Mishnah, of the two group of edim, that one of them says, you could not have seen this because you were with us. And then they say the same thing about the third and the fourth and fifth group of edim, that you all were with us. Says the Gemara, they have no incentive, Resh Lakish says. Over there, you know why Rabbanan say that we believe the second group of Edim? Because they have no incentive. Who hired them? Nothing. They just came on their own. By the way, in parentheses, you can say that Reuben, who is put on trial, hired them, because when someone is on trial, we keep them in jail. We keep them locked up until there is a psak din. Don't let them go around hiring people to come and testify. So it can't be him. Who did? They just came on their own. Said, we heard in the news that Reuben and Shimon are testifying against Levi. They could not have seen it because they were on a cruise with us in Spain. They came on their own. So once they came on their own, they have no incentive to lie excessively and say, oh, you also were with us. You also were with us. They have no incentive. Because if they would be proven wrong, right, they would just go home. They're not going to get killed. They don't have that incentive. Nobody paid them. They have no incentive. But over here, this woman is going around hiring people to bring Edim. She's not locked up. She goes and brings one group of Edim. It's her. She who is biased, the most biased, she's the one who's bringing this Edim. So, I have witnesses. We check them, false. I have other witnesses. She goes and comes 2 days later. We find them false. So we say, wait a second, maybe there is some cash under the table, and therefore the whole thing falls through. So the Shtakish says, I am not saying only like Rabbi Yehuda. Even Rabbanan, who are Mekel over there, would agree with me over here because there is incentive because she's going and getting the Edim.
Reuben has a wife and a son and a father and a mother. They could be hiring them.
It's not direct. The halacha would first of all be the same thing if you had none of those things. Right. Secondly, it's not necessarily that you're asking a good question, but it's not a direct thing. There would be the same exact halacha if he has nobody. If the Ger Tzedek has nobody, it will be the same exact halacha. Because we're not choshesh, we're not concerned that he himself did it, and if he didn't do it, the halacha deals with it as there's not really that much of incentives. It says the Gemara, over there's nobody really that is looking after it. Over here, she's going around, she who stands to lose everything, she's going around bringing this edim. And Rabbi Yochanan says the same thing, by the way. Rabbi Yochanan also says, Rabbi Yochanan Amarecha, I'm not confined to Rabbanan. I'm saying according to everybody, says Rabbi Yochanan. Amarecha, Anad Amri Afilu Rabbi Yehuda. Ad kan, first white line, Lo Ka'amar Rabbi Yehuda Hatam. Over there, Rabbi Yehuda says that we are machmir, we don't believe the second because it's a limit. Well, everybody was with you. And the obvious question is so obvious that they're lying, because what are the odds? What are the chances? And that you found one group of Edim that every other potential group of Edim was with them on a cruise in Spain. Seriously? What are the odds? Zero? Like, I mean, 0.0000001? What are the chances? It's a very obvious case of lying. But over here, says Rabbi Yochanan, there are different people who are testifying. There's no hazama over here. There are different people who could have seen the same thing and testify, and some of them don't remember some of the details, and they'll come out to not be valid edim. It doesn't take anything away from the next group that's going to come. Says the some, these guys didn't know the actual testimony, but the other ones could know. There's no kesher, there's no connection between them, and therefore it's good. So that's the machloket Resh Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Says the Mishnah.
So where do we leave that? Where do we leave that machloket?
Well, halakha is like Rabbi Yochanan in general. So says the Mishnah, this is the second white line, this is a very interesting one. Now, Edim Zomemim, we mentioned that they have their limits, they have their exact halachot of when and when not they are considered Edim Zomemim. And over here, the Mishnah is going to discuss that there is a sliver of a time that they could become edim zomemim. And where is that? That is after the Beit Din has given a psak. In other words, imagine if Reuben and Shimon come to the Beit Din and they say, this guy Levi owes $200 to his brother. Right? They gave the edut. They are in process of the Beit Din, but the edut already was given. And immediately afterwards, two other edim come and say, well, you could not have been there because you were with us. What happens at this moment? Nothing. Nothing. Now, we don't make Levi pay to his brother, but we don't do anything to the edim zomemim, nizamim, either, because there was no psak din. The Mishnah says that the only time that we have edim zomemim being punished, what they wanted to do to the fellow, is after there was a psak din. After there was a clear verdict of the Beit Din, that's when we do it. So, for instance, for dinei nefashot, if they're trying to get someone killed, dinei nefashot is not a one day, it's a process. It's we try to be mahmitz at the din, we wait, we try, it's a whole process. So if the edim came and they testified, we saw Reuben kill Shimon. And at some point, before the verdict is paskind on Reuben to be killed, the edim come and say, you could not have been witnesses because you were with us. What do we do to the edim zomemim? Nothing. Because it's before the verdict. Right? That's the din of this Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. We only kill them after the verdict of the Beit Din has been given. Shehare hatstukin omrin, in contrast with the stukim, that they used to say, they would say exactly the opposite. That if the edim did not accomplish what they wanted to do, if they didn't get Reuben killed, we don't kill them. That's what the sedukim used to say. Shenemar, because the pasuk says, nefesh tachat nafesh. Right? Or if you take a look at the side of your Gemarot over here, there's two psukim. It's not clear. It's machloket the poskim exactly, machloket the farashim, exactly what pasuk this Gemara is referring to. It's either talking about ve'im asoni yevenatata nefesh tachat nafesh, which has nothing to do with the parasha of edim zomemim, or it's nefesh benefesh, which is in Dvarim, not in Shemot. Which indicates that we do what they wanted to do, corresponding to what was supposed to happen. So the Sedukim said, well, nefesh tachat nefesh, or nefesh benefesh, means if you took a life, we take your life. If you took money, we take your money. If you didn't take a life, we don't take your life. If it didn't happen, Sedukim said, we don't do it. Amru lahem Chachamim said to the Stukim, and the connotation of the pasuk is clearly when the brother is still alive, when the thing still has not happened. It's a clear connotation like that. The brother is still alive, walking and breathing. So Chachamim went to explain, said, we understand what you're coming from. We get it. But it's clear from a different pasuk that that's not correct. So then, how do we understand nefesh tachat nefesh or nefesh benefesh? And this is where our Mishnah really takes form, says the Gemara, because Yachol mishash kiblu edutan yaregu. Is it possible that as soon as the edut, the testimony of this first group of edim who testified that Reuben killed Shimon, as soon as it was accepted in Beit Din, and then immediately they were nizom, the second group came and said, you were with us, can we kill them? No. Talmud lomar, nefesh tachat nefesh. The pasuk says nefesh tachat nefesh for this scenario. In other words, you guys, the Stukim say, nefesh tachat nefesh means he has to be already killed, and then we kill him. No. You can't say that because of a different pasuk. So why does it say nefesh tachat nefesh? Because it has to be a psak of taking a nefesh. If the Beit Din already paskin that we're killing Reuben, that's already as if they killed him. That qualifies for nefesh tachad nefesh. You really were about to take the nefesh. You're about to kill because there was a verdict of the Betin, psak of the Betin, and therefore we kill him. Nefesh tachad nefesh, ha'ena neragin, ad sheik moradin. We don't kill him until the psak din is given. Says the Gemara, Tana beribi. Rashi says beribi is in the name of a chacham. It's the name of a chacham. It's actually interesting because Rashi in Masechet Chulin says not clear what it is. Rabbi Elazar beribi was a Tana that his name was not beribi. Was Rabbi Elazar beribi over there? Rashi says beribi means he was gadol ador, right? Why can't you say it was Rabbi Elazar beribi? It was two names. Then Nodab Yudah writes in a tshuva because nobody had two names. Two names is like a new invention. Nobody ever had two names, right? The Nodab Yudah says this. It says actually he brings a story that was asked from the Marshal. It was a Shalom Bayit problem that the boy was born in a family and there was machloket. They should name him after her father or his father. Her father was Meir. His father was Yair, and they asked the Nodab Yehuda, he said, what do we do, Meir or Yair, right? And the Nodab Yehuda they said you should call him Shneor. The name of Shneor comes from this place. Shnei or, Meir, Yair, it's all both. Or, Shneor, that's it. Why not Meir, Yair, or Yair, Meir? Because nobody did two names. Right, the Chatam Sofer has this shelah as well in regards to difference. Very similar question. Or you ask, by the way, why is the son of Chatam Sofer himself has the Ktav Sofer? The holy Ktav Sofer had three names, right? It's not that Chatam Sofer went against his own tshuva to do that. It's that he was deadly ill twice in his life. The Ktav Sofer, like on deathbed basically, and they changed his name. They added a name later on. So he was born and given one name, and then the names were added. But that again gets into this whole question of halachically. Also, if you give more than one name, you have to make sure to call that name. If you give if you have a boy that's named Moshe, Aaron, David, Shimon, then you only call him Moshe. Then those three other names are Shem Shenishtaka. You get into deep problems in halachic status of if you don't call a name for a year, people don't know the name, especially for girls who are not called up to the Torah, it becomes a whole problem. So therefore, one name. So that's again just a little rate bite over here. But the Masechet Tana beribi. This Chacham called beribi Omer lo hargu ne'eragin. Time. Hargu en ne'eragin. The Gemara asks a question. We're going to just set this up and maybe continue it tomorrow. So, what sense does this make? That if you wanted to kill someone, you get killed. But if you actually accomplished what you wanted to do, and you got him killed in the Beit Din, then you're not killed. What happened with the Torah's Kal Vachomer? 13 principles of the Torah that the Torah nidreshet by, and starts with Kal Vachomer. It should be a Kal Vachomer. If you wanted to kill him, you get killed. Isn't it a kol sheken that when you actually killed him, that you should get killed? I mean, this sounds like selective hearing. Like, we have a rule that you use all over Torah for darshaning psukim, called Kal Vachomer. We know so many of the halachot of Torah from Kal Vachomer. The oraitas. And over here, you just take a pass on Kal Vachomer. Edim Zomemim should be the minimum that if you wanted to get him killed, you get killed. Right now, of course, in the Gemara, we had previously a drasha, kasher zamam, v'lo kasher asa, right? We had a drasha that we know this from a drasha that would go against that Kal Vachomer. But what exactly happens with the Kal Vachomer in the basic halachot of the 13 things that the Torah is, the 13 principles that the Torah is nidreshet by, is something fascinating that Be'ezrat Hashem will learn together in the next year.